I don't have a handout to start. My topic, as you can see, is promoting student success through effective classroom management. This is actually a catch-all title for policies and procedures, and also making sure that what happens in the classroom stays orderly. I don't have a handout for the first part of this, as I say, but I'll have a handout for something that's not here called FERPA, which you may or may not be familiar with. I'll talk about that briefly. A couple things. You will, and you probably have this experience, but you should know what some of the college's policies are around these, so you feel comfortable running a class. The first is, and I've got it here under classroom management, tardiness. Okay, you will, we've all encountered this type of thing. While there is no college-wide policy for tardiness, we've all learned that whatever the policy is that we have in each of our classes, we make sure that we're firm with that immediately, right? And students need to understand that there might be another instructor who does not allow students to come late. The door is locked 5 minutes after class. There are other instructors, and this might be, you might be one of them. Students can come in as long as they're as quiet as possible, right? Fortunately, we have more and more classrooms with front and back doors. If often I make my policy dependent upon the class I'm in. If I'm in a class such as this, what I say is please enter the back door and make sure, since it's winter, that your coat and everything is taken off before you come in the room, and sit down as quietly as possible. Doing this ensures that the student is of course, not disrupted by other students, or is undisrupted, or disrupts as little as possible, and it's just appropriate and it's fair to everyone. Talking, and there's talking and texting and cell phone message. I'm going to put cell phone usage. I'm going to put these all into the next one. There should be no talking in class. Okay, that isn't sanctioned by you. The college has a zero tolerance policy for disruptiveness in the classroom. All right, so if it ever reaches that sort of level, you should know that you not only have your department chair support, but you have my support, Bill's support, and the college's support. Craig Fannings's support, the president of the college. No one will tolerate disruptive students. It rarely, if ever, rises to that level that someone has to make sure that a student doesn't come back to class. But you can know that you're on very thick ice if that ever happens. Okay, that you don't have to worry about that. Okay, yes.
I just want to add, people have various levels of tolerance for this sort of thing, and I think it helps to remember that, especially if it's in the back of the classroom, you may be totally fine with it because it's not really reaching you, but you have to think about the students that are right near those other students, and that's the reason why you can't let it go. Okay, so if you see the mouths moving but you don't hear anything, you have to stop it, and if they don't respond, then you're going to have to take it to the next level. But you can be guaranteed it's distracting to the students around.
Around this point also, every person who is here for under a year or a year under will have mid-semester course evaluations done by the students. It's a very short, non-intrusive sort of evaluation that takes very little time. But students frequently write in the note section, the comment section at the bottom, other students are talking in class, so that bothers me. That should be a clear sign to you that there is a problem back there which you might not be aware of or might not bother you, but you can know that it bothers those students back there. And that is an issue. Texting and cell phone usage, college-wide policy, it should not be going on in the classroom at all. Okay? It shouldn't be going on at all in the classroom. There are in other buildings signs up. They haven't appeared yet in this building, but no student, unless there's an emergency medical reason for the student to have this device on in the room, it shouldn't be happening anywhere. Okay, and I hope you all feel comfortable with that, because that is how the college feels most comfortable. Are there any questions about any of that? Yes?
Is there a school-wide standard for when a student is NP'd from a course? For example, if a person comes in routinely 30 minutes late, can the professor say, you've missed now 150 minutes of class and you're not participating?
Okay, well, this will come up under attendance, which is my next topic, but let me say this. You'll have a tardiness policy for your class, okay? And if you allow students to sit in the class, okay, you might, as part of your grading procedure, mark them absent for that day in class. But as far as the school's record keeping is concerned, on the school's attendance sheets that each one of us is required to turn in every single day after every single class, that student has to be counted as present. Okay? But for your purposes, students might know you come in, that'll affect your grade. If you come in late, that'll affect your grade. The student that won't be marked absent as far as the college is concerned. Okay? That's a very good question because that inevitably comes up every semester. talk to attendance. That's something that's very important. We take attendance every day at the college, okay, for every single class. If you have, you should all be close to having or already have a Bay State email account. Just by a show of hands, who has one here? Who has their Bay State email account already? Okay, well, this is something that needs to be taken care of as soon as possible. You'll need to get one, because what will happen is on a Friday, just like today, you'll receive an email from Chelsea, and it will contain the attendance sheets for the next week. Okay, and what your job is to print them out, one for each day, not just one for the whole week, but one for each day, and then bring them to class, and then take attendance in class. And until you know the students so well that there won't be any error at all, call them by name to make sure that you don't get any error at all. So Chelsea will send them to you on Friday through your Bay State email account. I would on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, whenever you start teaching, see your program chair to make sure that you have your attendance sheets. Okay, he or she will print them out for you and give them to you as soon as possible. That's very, very important. As soon as you have those, take them to class. Let students know you're taking roll. Okay, let them know that you're taking roll, and let them also know what your attendance policy is. Again, the attendance policy as far as grading is concerned, that's up to each individual instructor. Okay, what you decide to do with your grading policy is up to you completely. Okay, I, for instance, mark students 1 letter grade down for every 4 absences. Okay, but there are varying levels of strictness in this. There are some people who, after the 3rd absence, every absence is a full letter grade, or some people are more lenient. The student needs to know, though, that you are taking attendance every single day for the college's purposes. Why do we take attendance? Okay, every single day for the college. Oh, by the way, we take attendance. Let me say, you take attendance on the paper sheets that you print out, and then you turn them in. There are various places on campus to do this. No matter what building you're teaching in, there's a drop box somewhere nearby in one of the offices, okay? And your program chair can let you know exactly where that is. But there's one in every single building, so there's no reason to leave the building without turning in attendance for whatever class it is that you just taught. Why do we do it? There are a couple reasons. First is to do the ethical thing by the student. Approximately, I think even over 90% of our students now are on financial aid. And if a student is receiving financial aid and not attending class, the student is incurring debt for something the student's not getting any value for, right? And it's really sort of an unethical thing to allow the student to keep sitting and keep incurring debt and ultimately failing the course, right? The student ends up with a ton of debt and nothing to show for it except a few F's on a transcript. That's not a very good thing to do. So we try to be as proactive as possible. And there are individuals and committees on campus that meet to evaluate student absences and to help and to make sure that students who are missing regularly are reached out to, so that if they need help, they can get that help. Or if they need to be counseled out of a class or out of the college, that can happen too. Also, the college has a policy that if a student is absent for 10 consecutive days, or 2 full weeks, the student is administratively withdrawn from the college. Okay? It's the right thing to do by the student. If the student's no longer coming to class, the student should be taken off financial aid rolls. Right? And the student should then also be taken off the college's books. It's the ethical thing to do by the college, too. And taking students' loan money and not allowing them to come to, and not bothering to closely manage their attendance is not the right thing to do. Students who don't attend school are less likely to repay their loans later on, which impacts the college's default rates and its ability then to receive federal financial aid. So not only does it affect the student, but it affects the institution and students in future years who might be coming. Students who are coming now don't pay their loans back. That's going to impact students who come tomorrow and want to get financial aid to attend here. Right? So it's the right thing to do by the student, and it's also the right thing to do by the college. Did I say that clearly enough, or was that unclear? Because it sounded a little convoluted to me. All right, but we take it and we turn it in, okay, and keep it for your own purposes too. One thing also, another thing, I move away from attendance is I'm talking about sort of the administrative stuff we do through the course of the semester, and I've got 3 big things here we have to do. The first is attendance, and that's done every day. The second is the mid-semester progress reports. Every student at the college. And there will be a process that you'll be introduced to by your program chair as to how this takes place. But what you need to know is that every student at the college receives a progress report, whether the student's receiving an F or an A. Okay? And it's not a very labor-intensive form to fill out. And it allows you to tell the student quite specifically, very quickly, what's wrong or what's going right in the class. And you'll have to do that for every single student. And there'll be adequate time before they're due. You'll get adequate notice before they're due to prepare them and to give them to your students, to your program chair, and to the advisor. This progress report contains two things, a grade, an approximate grade, and what we call here at the college a professional readiness score. Okay? Not only are we evaluating our students academically, but we're evaluating them as in their professional demeanor. How do they behave when they come to class? And the professional readiness score, in brief, contains everything from attendance to behavior in class. And that's something you should keep your eye on because you will need to evaluate your students on that. Any questions about that? And the last thing, it's still fresh in my mind, maybe I'm still traumatized by it, is our final grades. Final grades need to be turned in on time. You can know now that final grades will be due 48 hours after the conclusion for the final of any one class. Okay? So whatever class it is, you can know that final grades will be due 48 hours after that. There can be no exceptions to this. Okay? You heard it on the first day, and you'll hear it again as we approach the last day. If one instructor's grades aren't turned in, let's say this person over here, right? If this person's grades aren't turned in, all the other instructors, all the other classes can't be processed until that one person's grades are turned in. The whole thing grinds to a halt. Right? And it's very frustrating. We've had to call people on other continents to get them to fax their grades back, right? But believe me, we will find you. There is no place. There is no place. There is no place without a fax machine or without something. We'll find you, and that's very, very, very important. Any questions about any of that? Yes.
I just want to add something to that professional readiness score. There's a couple of reasons why we do it. One is that since all the students are going out on internship, we wanted a way to monitor. Occasionally you get the student where you're kind of a little nervous about sending them out there to represent the college in the workplace. If they have, whatever kind of issues in interacting with people, social issues. The other one is for students who excel in that area, it's something that they can use for employers. We got this idea from another college. There's a couple of schools that do it, but they can basically say, not only do I have good grades, but I have very high professional readiness score. So it's really a 1, 2, or a 3, 3 being the highest. And they could say, that means that, my maturity level essentially is something that you can be, comfortable knowing that it was in high regard from my faculty. So that's kind of the big picture about that other score. So at the end of the course, they'll get their regular letter grade and a professional readiness score. Thanks.
Questions about